I'm Leslie Richardson. Thank you for joining me as we're going to go through how to create an automated testimonial workflow. Now, if you have seen this screen before and it looks familiar, that's probably because you joined the webinar with myself in China, a Vidlo, where we talk through how to send your Vidlo testimonials to your clients. It is the same workflow from the webinar we did with China on how to take your Vidlo video campaigns and ask your clients or customers to actually become a part of your campaign to submit testimonials to your business. And so it's the same workflow. And we're not going to dive back into ConvertKit, but I want you to remember it's the same business, right? Photography business, where we're sending testimonials because that's what we're basing our automated system from. So let's go over to our system. So here we have SmartSuite, and SmartSuite is going to be the hub or the base of this workflow. What that means is we need a place to store this data. So think of it like a spreadsheet, but like a super powered one where we can do a bit more fun stuff with it. And this hub is where all the information lives. I actually have a couple stages here. And ideally, when you're working, with any workflow, right, there are phases to it. There are steps, big buckets of things that need to happen. And that's what this is modeling for us. So we have the stage where we haven't requested the testimonial quite yet. But then we know we need to send that request. And then we're going to indicate that we've actually requested it. So we not only did we send it, but it's been sent essentially. And then we're waiting for the upload. We're waiting for the person to actually submit that testimonial. And after we have it, then we're going to wait for the transcript because once we have the video and we can get the words, then we can go about creating copy. I've added some extra steps here because we do want to see when our automation is working. And so not only do we want to know that we're waiting on the transcript, well, then we want to know when it started, the transcription process started, when it's complete. And then we're going to pay attention to when we want to create content. And so we have this intermediate step of writing the social media draft. The social media has been drafted. And then, of course, if let's say you have a team or you do the full process, then you would say it's ready for design. The graphics are being designed and all this fun stuff. And so we're really going to focus on everything before the actual design step today. So that's our overview of the flow. Now let's go back to Megan. So ideally, in a perfect world, right, I would say I need to send this request to Megan, but I wouldn't be on my own to do it. Here is my first workflow that actually sends the request on my behalf. Now, the thinking here is that because I'm using SmartSuite, right, and SmartSuite can connect to Relay app, when I drag the card over from not requested to send request, that's something that we can observe with a trigger. And so here in Relay, we're saying whenever we have a job or testimonial and the status becomes send request, then we want to actually start this workflow. So let's refresh this. So I think what we're going to do is that we're going to use Jane because Relay might be smart and realize that we've already sent Megan through this process because I've been testing. So let's give this a go with Jane instead. There we go. And this is it. So you know what? Relay is not only smart, it's doing what I told it to do. So here it's saying when the record first meets this condition, which is essentially telling it to track how many times somebody's gone through this. And if they've already gone through it, they won't run it again. So that was the problem. If I wanted it to run every time, I would just change that to record change. But I like this because for something like this, I don't want to accidentally spam people with email. So I actually like the trigger. I set it up correctly. I just forgot. So here we go. We have Jane. And I like Jane being showing up here, which means that we can test with that. So that's awesome. And then the next step is that we want to go into ConvertKit and tag this person as a photography client. And so that's what we have. Once we tag them as a photography client, we're going to tell ConvertKit, well, this is their email, this is their name, right? And let's grab that coupon code and we'll come back to that. And so this is going back to that visual we had of that workflow. That's going to start this automation, right? So ConvertKit's going to handle the emailing, all the reminders, and the sequencing. Awesome, awesome. Great. Next, we're going to check to see if the person has a cell phone number. And I don't want to, send a message to a fake number. So we're not going to do it for now. But if we did have a cell phone number in for Jane, then it would actually send via ClickSend. This would be the app that would send the message. And then I could actually specify my message here. So whatever that message is, say, hey, we love to hear from you. Please take a moment to submit a testimonial. And here's where I'm going to drop that link. Thank you and say thank you. And just in case there's not a first name in our system, we can set a fallback value, which is like a default. So let's say for whatever reason, there's no first name. We're going to say friend instead. So we say, hey, Jane, or hey, friend. We'd love to hear from you. Please take a moment to submit a testimonial, link to the testimonial, and a thank you message. And so this is a text message that would get sent out, right? Now, because this is a test and I'm not going to blow up a fake phone number, um, and also because I'm going to have a cell phone number for everyone I work with, then we can tell the workflow to say, hey, if there's no number, just skip sending the text message. And then when we're done, we want to go back to SmartSuite and tell SmartSuite that the testimonial has actually been requested. So let's go through. We're going to publish our changes here. Publish. And then let's start a test run just to see how this works in real time. Jane, create test run. And then we're going to hit start run because this is a test. So because it's a test, we have to kind of tell it to start. And it's going to run all the way through. And as it goes through and updates ConvertKit or kit, then it's going to add her to the sequence. And then we're going to move it over to requested, right? And so now we see that it's actually been requested. And we can check ConvertKit. So now we see that we have a total of 4 subscribers in this workflow. And if we take a look, you'll see that Jane is actually here. So she got into the kit workflow. We can go look at Jane's information to see what all happened when that step ran. So we have her email address, we have her first name, and if we scroll down, we even grab that testimonial coupon code. Awesome. So everything's working as we expected, and of course, SmartSuite was updated. So it's been requested. And now we want to indicate that it's waiting on an upload from Google Drive. If you're in a system where when people submit videos or audio files or even like, form submissions, and you can automatically detect that, then you can even move through this step as well with an automation. But I'm just going to do this manually for now. I have an audio file that I've already created. And what I want to do is copy this link because I want to reuse it for Jane. So we're just going to transcribe the same video or audio. And the cool thing too about Relay is that it's going to work for both audio and video. So I'm just using audio because the file is shorter and faster. But it would work both ways. And so I'm going to put in my Google Drive file, hit save. And now that I have saved this and said, okay, the upload's done, now I'm going to wait on the transcript. But before that, let's go look at our transcript workflow. So this is where we transcribe the testimonial. Now what we have here, we'll turn this on, is that when a job is ready for transcription the first time through, so that way we don't waste our credits and tokens, when we are ready to do transcription, we're going to capture that status and we're going to make sure that there is a video link somewhere. Then we're going to go through and take that link and grab the Google File ID. So that's what we're doing here, cleaning it up to make sure we grab that Google File ID. And then we're going to capture that ID and pass it over to the step that finds that Google file. We're going to then update the status in SmartSuite to say the transcript is started because we want to know when it starts right before we start to actually transcribe that file. And we're using OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, but like the version of ChatGPT you can take out of ChatGPT and use in other stuff and integrate. So that's OpenAI. And we're using their transcription model. We're passing in that Google Drive file. And we're telling with Relay, we're able to say, go get the file, get the actual file, right? It's not just the link to it, but the actual like media file, and then transcribe it. So as a final step, we want to take that transcription and put it back in a SmartSuite. So we're going to do that. And we're also going to say that the transcript is complete by updating the status. So this is on right now. We're going to publish our changes. Now we're going to drag this over to waiting on transcript. And now we see the transcript has started for Jane. And then we know it's complete for Jane. So we went through, we took that audio, and this is the transcription. It's a little small. Let me see if I can zoom in there. And so we're saying, I recorded it myself, so I can look at this and say this is accurate. So that's accurate. Now we're on to the next step where we need to generate the social media post content. Now, normally you might stop and say, okay, well, let me write up this content really quickly. But it's time consuming. And you can imagine with a bunch of testimonials, that's time that we probably don't want to spend doing it one at a time. So how do we get around that? We use some more AI. What I want to do is drag this over to waiting for social draft and then have it do the content generation for me and then tell me it's done by updating the status to social post draft. Let's go back to Relay and open up our next workflow, which is creating the social media post. We'll turn this one on and we'll talk it through. So the first thing we want to do is whenever we, again, change that status to waiting for social draft, we also want to check to make sure the social post is not empty or the social post is empty and then the transcript is not empty. So if somebody has already written that social media post content, we don't want to overwrite it. We don't want to lose what a person might have already done in a different process, tool, or whatever. So we want to make sure that there is no post content. And then we also have a transcript to use. Now we're going to use OpenAI again, but we're going to use this particular model. We could even, I think they have a new model. Yes, their new model, O1 is really, really smart. But also the 4.0 mini is super cheap and it's good. It's what I've been using. So let's stay there. And what I'm going to do is set it up like I would if I was in ChatGPT. So I got to give it some prompts. Let's zoom in. And so here in the system prompt, I'm essentially priming the GPT just like I would if I was in ChatGPT. And I'm telling it who it is, so giving it personality, and then telling it how I want it to craft its phrases for the testimonial. And so we want to highlight key phrases, use language that feels warm. That's part of this photography person's brand. We want it to feel warm and inviting because we know that sometimes people can get a little nervous in front of the camera. We want to highlight benefits and mention the benefits about the service, and then as well as ensure each post feels personable. So we definitely want the AI to write content that feels like just like a person and less matter of facty. And so that is the system prompt, right? The instructions for the bot. That's what goes there. Now, after we define that, we want to put in the user prompt, which is the simulating me sitting there typing it in. So after I've told the GPT what it's going to do in its instructions, now it's me sitting there giving it all the information to go do its job. And so here I've defined the client. So this is the client, given the first name and last name. And just so for context, so it knows what name, like which of the names are what, we can actually add that. And then we have a photo shoot type because I want it to know what type of shoot it is to give it context. And then we're going to drop in the actual transcript from SmartSuite. And then we're going to tell it to add a CTA to the social media post, which is called a call to action. So whenever you're posting on social media with intention, generally you're going to have a couple sales posts or marketing posts that have a clear call to action for whoever's reading this, which is comment, DM me or something. And so here we're going to say book now. We want our testimonial post to generally ask people to book a photo shoot. We could also add extra content. We could tell the GPT, go search the web, go do research, but we don't need any of that. We're giving it everything it needs in the transcript. But just so you know, you could really get fancy here and get this to do some fun stuff. And then of course we want the GPT to very clearly, or we want the step in Relay to very clearly give us the call to action. And so we're going to tell it the output of your job is to give me a call to action. And we want that to be text. We're going to require a response actually. So you have to give me a call to action. You also have to generate um, the post content itself, right? And so if here's where you can massage it to even give it more context about the Instagram post and how you want to shape it. But I think we did a sufficient job in the instructions, so we don't have to do that again. And then okay, if it fails for whatever reason, like I want to know. So the automation will stop. Great. So those are my settings there. And then the last bit is once the AI is run, we want to go and grab that photo shoot content. Now this is named photo shoot type. I changed the name, just didn't update, but this is the content and I'll show you. So if we want to grab it again, we'll delete that. We'll go into our AI step and we're going to get that photo shoot type. And then I wonder if I can rename this really quickly, just for the sake of clarity. Yeah, I don't think I can. I don't see a way to do it. But we can also just delete it and do another one at output text. And so this is while I'm here with Relay, you can get really, really specific to tell it, hey, I'm looking for an actual date. I'm looking for a time. I'm looking for an email or URL. This is how you get it to produce really precise data. So that way it integrates better into your systems. If you need a list of data, so not just one, but multiples, you can be even clear there about that. And then if you need like more system data, like techie data, you can get that as well. But here I'm just looking for a single blurb of text. Um, and that's all I need. So now we're going to name that Instagram post content, hit done. And we're going to go grab it. Now it's named correctly. There we go. Okay. And now we're saying, again, once we have that transcript, or sorry, once we have the social media post, we want to know that it's drafted. So we're going to update this in SmartSuite with the status as well as the social media post content. I'm going to publish this, and remember it's turned on. So we're going to go over to the board and we're going to drag Jane over to waiting for social draft. So again, this intermediate step just is a way for us to tell the system, hey, I'm waiting for the draft. And then we're going to see it move over to social post drafted. Now, to be fair, you could remove all the waiting steps and just have it go, 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 right? But I really wanted to demonstrate what happens as it moves from step to step. And so Jane is done. And now we have our social post. Meet Jane. Let's zoom in a bit here. Okay, meet Jane. I just had the most awesome time at our photo shoot. This came directly from my quote, right? I felt totally seen and it was effortless. Even this bit here in all the emojis, and because it's for Instagram, like it's adding emojis. AI does that because it realizes that Instagram is a emoji place. But you can also tell not to use emojis in your prompt if you're not that person. You're like, I don't do emojis. You can tell it that. Great. It took another quote. The photo shoot superseded my expectations. Awesome. Right, right. This is good. And now we're doing the call to action. I'll be referring, look at that. I'll be referring all my friends using more quotes. And then at the end, here we have our call to action. So that's the gist of it. And this worked all the way through. We're going to save that. Not that I made changes, but we're going to save it just in case. And now you can imagine that if I wanted to, do this for more cards or more jobs, essentially, I could simply by just using this workflow. So this for fictitious photography business, right, can keep track of its clients, drag it over and say, hey, I'm ready to send a testimonial request after the photo shoot. And then when it's requested, you can say, great, I'm ready for that upload. And to keep track of the fact that you're now waiting for that upload too, especially because it requires somebody to do something manual, right? Which is your client to submit something. And then you need to then upload, grab that file, and then take the link and then let the system, SmartSuite, become aware of it. And so I like that manual step in between. And then, of course, remember, if you're using a flow where you're notified automatically when somebody submits something and you can grab it, then this will be even more streamlined. And then when I'm ready for the transcript, I can tell the system, hey, I'm ready for that transcript now. Mason's already ran, so I don't think that's going to run. And then the system will tell us when it started the transcript, when the transcript is complete. And then I can say, hey, I'm waiting for the social draft, and it will generate that social draft content. And then I'll know when the social media post has been drafted. And so if you're thinking about, okay, so I see that we're automating the tasks. So this is what I like to call task automation. What about the handoffs? This is where things get really cool. We can use either SmartSuite's native automations or Relay app to actually add more steps that say, when the draft is done, I want to add a comment and tag this person, right? And notify them. When you start layering all these things together, then the pieces fall into place and we can automate the client outreach. We can automate the tasks themselves around creating the content, right? And we can even go as far to automate notifying team members or contractors when things are ready. Um, and then we can go as far as to then automating another task of posting to social media when it's approved. So I hope this gets you excited in thinking of all the possibilities as to how you can begin to automate your own testimonial workflows, or any workflows really where you're dealing with content generation and you want that little AI touch to help with drafting copy for you. It's totally possible. It all comes down to knowing your process, having a system, and then having the right tools to integrate things and get more work done on your behalf. At this point, you're probably wondering, how do I get access to the sequences in these workflows? Well, hopefully you are already in the slide deck. That's how you got access to this video. But if you got to this video from some other way, then there should be a link below wherever you're watching to pop in your email and get the slide deck. So the first thing you're going to see in the slide deck when you tab over to the next slide is not just the video, but the resources. Let's break these down. We used Kit, aka ConvertKit, to handle our email marketing automation. And this was the workflow I demoed in the beginning of the video. And so you can get that download by clicking on the simple workflow testimonial button here, which will take you to ConvertKit to download it. And in the interview or webinar I did with China, there was an advanced version of this workflow where I showed what that coupon code could do and how we can automate not just requesting the testimonial, but sending that coupon code once we have a testimonial. So you can download that as well. Next, we use Relay. Relay was our automation engine. And so if you think of Zapier, then we used Relay in place of Zapier, essentially. And the first automation we did was actually setting the request to email, which of course we use ConvertKit for that, but Relay tied those things together. Then the next thing we did was transcribe that testimonial. So once we have our video, we need to transcribe it, and Relay helped us do that by tying our SmartSuite and Google Drive video together with OpenAI, which is ChatGPT for integrations. And so we use Relay to orchestrate all that. And then the final task we automated was creating the social media post, where Relay came back in again and married SmartSuite with OpenAI or ChatGPT to help us take our testimonial and convert that into social media posts. So if you hit copy on all those, it will actually take you into the instructions and the screenshots of each one of those steps, so you can configure your workflow automation steps to do the same thing. Fun bit, I figured, since we were dealing with AI and prompts, nobody wants to sit here and manually retype what we saw on the screen. So when you go to automation 3 and you go to the step 2, you will see that we have the words here for the prompt that you can actually highlight and copy and paste. Similarly, here we have the words for the user prompt as well, so you can copy paste if you just want to, if you don't want to spend time typing that all over again. So that's there for you. And then there's SmartSuite, which we use as the hub of this workflow, which is where all of our data lived. It's what triggered our automations. It's what we integrated things back into, right? It was the hub of this whole workflow. And if you want to get that database that we designed, and SmartSuite calls a database a solution. So if you want to go ahead and grab that, you can hit that button, hit clone, and you'll be able to clone that into your own SmartSuite account. And if you don't have one, you'll be prompted to create one. And then last but certainly not least, we have Vidlo. Vidlo is the video testimonial tool that we featured and talked about that you can use to actually do video campaigns. So it's not just for testimonials. It does video marketing campaigns, and it lets you create a video campaign that you can send a link to people. And when they get that link, it says, hey, would you like to record a video? And it will show them whatever you ask them. So you can come up with a prompt to prompt their video, and it will literally guide them through creating the video that you prompt them to create. And so that makes it perfect for collecting testimonial and feedback, because once they're done recording the video, it gets into your Vidlo account for you to download it. So it's pretty cool. Go ahead and click that link and it will direct you to the Vidlo website. And speaking of Vidlo, this part 1 that I kept mentioning, how do you get it? Well, it's right here. This has a link to the YouTube video that you can hit play on, or just, watch on YouTube. And this will go through the first part where we really dig into Vidlo and ConvertKit or Kit and putting all those things together to actually do that email marketing part. And so this is really cool if you're just interested in that email marketing bit alone, trying to figure out how would you tool your own marketing software to help you request testimonials and even do follow-up for you. So yep, that's what that webinar is all about, and you can click there to watch it. I spend the most of my days working with the founders of online service businesses who have been around for a little bit, are really good at what they do, and have developed a number of systems and automations around doing what they do for clients. And at some point, they realize, ooh, doing more of what we do is awesome, but we don't have any more time, and bringing in more people in the team isn't necessarily a solution to scaling. And so they're looking to see, what can I take from what we do and turn that into an app? And I come in and bring the strategy of, okay, instead of taking, 16 to 24 months to build this app in silence and then see how it works, we instead take what you have today, take that expertise, and we build mini apps, or what I like to call micro tools, to begin to test and see what works. And so we work in a couple months to build you a mini app, a micro tool. And because of that approach, I love systems and automations. That's where we start. We start with what people do really, really well and how they have already digitized it. And we go from there. So If any of this intrigued you at all or shifts the way you think about business and what's possible online with automation, I would love to hear from you. You can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm really a Threads girl, but Instagram and Threads are one and the same. So you can find me on either one. And then, of course, you can listen along on my podcast where I talk about all these things and more. Thanks for joining me.